Hi, I'm Lovoni.
And I'm Sarah, and welcome to the Lovoni and Sarah podcast, where we talk all things weight loss and well-being. On today's episode, Lovoni and I chat about the mental load and the empty cup. The givers of this world usually don't take the time to replenish and restore so that they have something to give. They're left with little to no time to see their own needs are met or build up their reserves. Essentially, they're giving from an empty cup. As always, before we dive into this episode, let's hear about how our goals from last week shaped up. Lovoni, remind me, what was your goal and how successful were you?
Well, I don't remember my goal. That's bad.
Confession time.
I'm fessing up. I was going to go back and listen to the podcast to see what it was, and I thought, well, that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah,
really,
well,
right?
You haven't done it.
No. I might have and not even know about it. But I'm going to write it down this week for, what it is. Yes, I thought I might have.
How did your week go then, even if you can't remember what your goal was?
My week was pretty good. I'd sort of been in a bit of a funk and, often if I do get like that, I tend to not worry about myself. I mean, you know what I mean? As in,
it's not a priority.
It's not a priority, the exercise, the whole bit. But I've just kept on with that. So,
okay, so let's reverse the fact that it may not have been perfect, but you have done things, have you?
Yes,
even if it's just small. Okay. So
it's been, my food's been good, and I've been exercising, but I'm just, I've just got
like you're
that.
On it.
I just don't feel like I'm on anything right now. You know,
well, sometimes you're going to have. We've talked about like the ups and downs. But you're just in one of those lower bits before you go on the up again.
Right, so must be. I don't know what it is, but anyway, this too shall pass. But it's still, I did all right, I think.
Did I send you one of those funny quotes where it says, "This too shall pass," and then it says, "And then comes along the fucking next thing."
Right, I think so. Yes, that's so true,
and
right?
Then So it's like the kind of an anti-aspirational quote site on Instagram. It's really funny.
Right, I like that.
It gives you all of the standard quote, like "This too shall pass," and then comes the fucking next thing.
It's like, well, I know, because everything doesn't always have to be sunshine and roses.
They always make me laugh.
I know. What's it called? I have to look it up.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I'll look it up and then I'll post it on our.
Do that.
Mm-hmm. On Instagram.
Yeah, that's good.
But it is funny. It's worth a smile every day.
That's good. What about you? What were your goals?
My goal was juicing.
Okay. Was that mine too? Maybe that was mine. I have been juicing. Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I had a friend stay here with me, and I made her do it too.
Okay.
Yeah, because
How did she get on?
She's good. She liked it. Yeah, I made hers better than mine though. But
so I got my juicer out of the store cupboard and gave it
Dusted
a good
off.
down.
Yeah,
exactly. And I've really enjoyed it. I made about 500 ml, which I then divided into two. So I've taken about 250 ml each time I've had it.
Okay.
And it's quite intense. Obviously, do you ever add any water to it or anything, or do you just drink it exactly? No, exactly.
I drink it, but I don't sip on it. I chug it. I just get it down. Yeah.
I did kind of a beetroot, orange and gingery one of the days, and it had orange, carrot, beetroot, ginger, and something else I can't remember now. Ooh, and then another day,
very detoxifying.
Yeah, and then another day I did a green one, so celery, spinach, lemon, ginger, and cucumber. Oh, that was what I put in the first one too, cucumber. So yeah, good.
Cucumber's good because of the, it's just really water. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I find ginger a bit hard to take in those juices.
I only put
very
one
overpowering
kind of root of the ginger, and then I peel it all, and then compared to the amount of the other stuff, I think it's just the right amount.
Okay, I mean it is good for you, but
you get that slight afterglow on your tongue.
Yeah.
But when I'm drinking it, I don't sort of think, "Whoa, I've overdone it." So,
maybe when I've done
enjoyed it.
Yeah, oh, that's good. We're growing celery. I think I've talked about this, which is bizarre because I've never grown celery, and I thought it was flat leaf parsley when I bought the little seedlings. And I wouldn't have planted them, but my husband did, and lo and behold, the celery's amazing. So I've been putting that in my juice, but it's celery is very strong, I think. It sort of needs like the carrots or something a bit sweeter to
I put the celery in my green one, and I think maybe the baby spinach and the lemon and the ginger sort of took it over. So it was
Right.
all right, actually. I didn't find it too celery. And it was a whole, what do you call it? Like a bulb of celery.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the whole, if it grows, I
Stalk,
put a whole,
yeah. Well,
put a
not
whole
even
one in.
stalk. I don't know, what is that called? I should
Dunno.
know.
It looks
Huh.
like a bulb, and then it grows up into the stalks.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I just find it so good to do. I just come alive 10 minutes after drinking it. And I think that's from just being so hydrated, because I usually have mine first thing in the morning.
yes, I try to have many. The other thing I think is all those nutrients you're just getting in, you're guaranteed to have literally bulked those in one go, and then obviously everything else is on top, isn't it? But
right, and I know there's
that
no
was my
fibre,
goal,
but
and
still.
I did it.
Oh, well done. That's good.
Yes.
Excellent.
So today we're talking about the mental load and the empty cup.
Yes. And
do you know what we mean by the term mental load? I mean, it's probably self-explanatory, but
just when you're just taxed, when you have to do and think, it's not necessarily that you're busy physically, but making sure the household runs and that you're just drained. I feel like that with dieting. I say that with trying to lose weight sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah,
overwhelming.
That and just thinking about work and what I need to do.
It's kind of a real buzzword at the moment. There's lots and lots of talk about it, and really the kind of definition is it's the list. It's like the never-ending list of tasks that are required to run a home, a family, a life in general, but that are never discussed. So the mental load, it's not those big hits that said, we've got to book this, that, or the other for a holiday. It's the little things. It's the fact that there's a vet visit, the bills are paid, the bins are put out.
What are we going to eat?
Wash everything.
What to buy? Where to go?
Exactly. Yeah. Generally, it's the women. Not always. Not always, but often it's the women. A lady called Kat Sims from an account called Not So Smug Now is a huge campaigner of this. So take a follow of her on Instagram. She's very sort of direct, really non-bullshitty, but she sums it up as, which is quite a good quote, I think. I feel like you are the swan and I'm the fucking legs. That's how she then sums it up within the household. Like, you're the one that's just cruising through life, and I'm doing all of that fucking work underneath to make sure that
mainly
you can
paddling.
And I think that's quite a good description of it.
Yes.
She actually created a physical list. So she sat and created a brain dump of what her personal mental load, but it's very applicable to many, many households. And it was pages long. It's the things that you just never, you automatically do them, but they are pages long. And the other thing that I think you've got to try to remember is you sort of say, okay, well, everybody's got to do them, no matter the household, male, female, any household. It's going to change your list, but that everybody has these things. No one's special, are they, compared to the rest? But the thing that I think you've got to be really careful of is that many people find themselves in a situation where their partner or maybe their child offers to do something to have, like, well, tell me what to do to help them. Okay.
Right.
But do you know what? That's what's then even adding to your mental load, because you're having to project manage that. So you go, okay, well, I need you to go and get the washing out of the machine, take it up and hang it out.
You think I may as well just have done it myself.
And I need you to do it now, please, because I need to put the next load of washing in because I've got 3 to do today. And all of a sudden they're like, well, I'll do it in, and understandably, I'll do it in half an hour. Like, no, I need you to do it now. So then you start project managing that. So do you know what? Your mental load tick list is then just grown again.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of example, I think. And I know that those people are trying to do it to be helpful. They're like, well, all you had to do was ask. But there's the point. If I've got to ask, it's still on my tick list, not on yours.
Yeah.
You see, that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to describe. And it's exhausting, isn't it?
I think, especially if you've got children. I just don't know how people do it with kids. I really don't.
You've got your little doggy to look after. It's, some people don't even have that. Everyone's got something that's a responsibility that adds on the top. You're really busy with work. Everyone has got something, and their list would probably look tweakily different, but fundamentally I'm sure the core would be the same for everybody. And I don't know about you, but I find myself easily, if I'm not careful, getting dragged down by it, because I just think it just weighs on me so much. I'm like, oh my god, right, I'll empty the dishwasher again for the second time today just so that I can clean everything down and reload it. Right. And it's that whole, it is a mental attitude towards it, isn't it? That's the trouble. But what we're doing is that we're not then creating space for us. We are working from the empty cup, like you sort of said before. It's just we're then trying to keep doing all of this when we haven't replenished ourselves at all. And then if we add in trying to look after our health because we're trying to get healthier, we're not already in a place where we're maintaining life, where because we've done it, we've got this project, an additional project on top, effectively, haven't we, where we're trying to lose the weight, get healthy. And that's not a simple task, and as far as a one trick pony, you've got to add in all of these different things to be able to do that.
It's also usually the first thing to go to when you feel so bogged down like that is taking care of your own needs gets put at the top of the low priority list. It does
as you
for
just
me.
described as well, because if you're feeling a bit flat, it all of a sudden doesn't feel like it's a priority anymore.
No. That's why I find having, and this might sound a little anal, but I have to do things on certain days because that takes away having to think about it. Things like changing the towels, putting clean sheets on the bed, even a workout, like first thing in the morning, workout and juice. And then, just doing that and having that time allotted for that then means, one, it gets done, and two, you don't have to think about it, constantly all day. Oh, still need to work out, it's done. But, obviously, first thing in the morning isn't good for everybody. But that, for me, so I have to schedule certain things. Even, I know this might sound ridiculous, but even shaving my legs, shaving all my legs like a spider, shaving all my bits and pieces, that's like a Friday thing. Because then I know, I just get into that, I know then that's, done, and I don't have to think about it. So, yeah.
But if you think about it, that's even on your list. So this is exactly what we're now
still on my list,
to sort of almost visualise and flesh it out, is the fact that that's your list, and all of these things, they add up, and eventually I think they do take their toll on you, because you're constantly running through, even if it's written down, but running all of these things that need to be done, and you're thinking, okay, it's great, it does help to know what day you're doing it or what time you're doing it, because you just take it off the constant running ticking through in the front of your brain all the time. But I think it's probably just worth us saying that we recognise this is the fact that probably most of the people listening to this also feel the same. It's kind of a really common denominator, isn't it? Everybody, to some extent, gets overwhelmed and feels this mental load list is just hanging over them a lot of the time. And I guess the trick is how to manage that, isn't it?
Right. Well, yeah, because even delegating, like you said, it's still you still then have to explain what you want done, check in, is it happening?
Yep. Project manager.
Why isn't it happening? Yeah. And then it's not being a control freak, because I've had that said about me. It's just making sure shit gets done. Simple as that. And if you do it yourself, it's going to get done. But
it's like the little miracle, isn't it? When the bins go out on whatever day of week it is, and then you come back and you get another bin liner out of your kitchen cupboard or wherever you keep it, and then you put it in the bin. You're like, how did that bin liner get to that kitchen cupboard? It's because somebody has thought, have we, sometimes you run out. I'm not as an angel, but have we got one? I've got to get it from the supermarket. I've got to make sure that it's in the place where people always know where it is. It's all of those little tiny things. Everybody has to do it to run a home. But it's those sorts of things that if you can try to make them as automatic as possible, I think that would help. Like you just said, you've got your routine. And I think when it comes to our weight loss health plans, that's the other thing. Let's try and make this as automatic as possible, so it doesn't feel like it's another thing on our bloody list. Because and now, on top of all of that, I've suddenly got to try and get healthy. For the love of God, when am I going to fit that in?
Which is why just a bit of time on the weekend or whenever isn't the busiest time. For me, Sunday is normally the Sunday I'm working, but normally sometime on the weekend, choose something just to do a bit of prep, whether it's to make a couple of different salad dressings or make a sauce or just something, marinate some meat, spend an hour or two, it would be great.
Another good way is when you're cooking an evening meal, double it.
Yeah.
So even if you haven't got the time on a Sunday or a weekend to try and do that, a really good tip for people, because they're already going to cook an evening meal and they're probably like, oh, for God's sake, they've either done well and got every ingredients in the fridge, like we've talked about before, or they've had to run and get it that day. It doesn't matter. You've got it and you're cooking it.
Yeah.
Just double it.
Yeah.
Double it. Put it in a pot, freeze it, and then you've won. You know, they go, there's another meal done. If you do that for a week, you've suddenly got 2 weeks worth of meals
exactly
done. Do you see what I mean?
And so you can turn them into other things. It doesn't have to be boring.
Yeah, if you turn it into a base, if you did the meat, for example, that was from a bolognese, you can make it a lasagna if you just keep it as the meat, those, or turn it into something else. So I think that's another way of trying to be really effective with your time, because let's face it, this is what we're talking about, is time, isn't it? This tick list, this mental load, is the fact I've only got a certain number of hours in my day. How am I going to use them effectively? And really, how am I going to use them most efficiently? Exactly, because I have got this list I need to get through. So let's try and make this as efficient and useful as possible. So that's one way. Double up on your food cooking if you haven't had time. But the other way is, ideally, if you could carve out an hour at a weekend where you could do a bit of prep and batch cooking and things. That's a really great way.
It's such a good feeling when you do that, I have to say.
Yeah,
it's so nice, especially in winter.
Way,
I think it works so much in
absolutely.
winter. It's great.
Because you're not using it. I mean, salads is just, you just prep it every day. It's not so much a big deal, but it's that winter thing. Everything takes a bit longer to cook, whether it's potato, whether it's stew. It's just a longer cooking time, isn't it? I think another way is to try and involve the whole family in what you're doing, because then what you're not doing is cooking 3 meals, because you're doing my meal and what they're having. And do you know what I mean? Then all of a sudden your load feels a lot bigger because you're trying to look after yourself. Well, just include everybody. So what you're going to eat, do it for everybody. Because I think a lot of people get this mentality of, it's my project, I'm trying to get healthy, I'm trying to better myself, but they're not going to want to eat it.
Right.
I'm like, well, I'm sure there's some adaptations you could do, even if they're not massively keen on exactly what you're having. Just add a little bit of something to try and, appease the situation, whether it's kids that won't eat their vegetables, will blitz them down, into like a really fine sauce and put that through their pasta. They'll never know.
Or put it in a frittata or a wrap or something like that. Yeah.
But I think instead of trying to compartmentalize what we're trying to do in our own health, in our own journey, include the whole family, because all of a sudden you've halved, if not even more than that, the amount of effort that you're creating, because everyone's going to eat the same thing.
And if they don't, they could just go hungry.
Well, the point is, you're actually benefiting them as well, aren't you? Even if they might push back against it, it's definitely to their benefit.
Oh God, for sure. But I just, I think it's finding the balance of not taking yourself off the list of, I mean, really that's what it comes down to. And I think pretty much anybody would say, even having time set aside, to maybe go and see a friend or do like a girls' night or something for yourself, even if it's, once a month, once every 6 weeks, whatever.
A bigger thing. I think there's something, it's such a refresh, isn't it? To go and do something like that, and it really lifts you. I also think it's really important to every day, even if you can just find 10 minutes to something for yourself every day. And the other thing that I then also thought about is, but also make sure that you recognise that, because it's easy to have your 10 minutes, whatever that be, whether you want to read a book, whether you want to do a crossword, whether you want to do some journaling, whether you want to do some yoga.
Mine's
whatever
swimming.
It might be.
That's my thing.
Swimming.
That's my
thing. But then sometimes I do it and then almost treat it as another tick list. Right, tick, I've done that.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's so true, yes.
And you're like, right, tick.
Yeah.
Tick, I've looked
it's like,
after
oh
myself.
my God. I haven't
everything off my list.
Right. And if you haven't done it, it's like, oh, I haven't got to it yet.
It's stressful that you haven't done that bit. So
I
think a trick is to try and really recognise the fact that I've done something that I've enjoyed for 10 minutes. That's great. Recognise
and not feel guilty about it.
Don't feel guilty. Don't feel stressed that you've got to try and fit it in. Just do it. Just be automatic about it, like you said, with writing things down and your days of the week that you do stuff. If you want to write it down, but don't, for goodness sake, turn it into another must-do scenario, because I think that's defeating the object, isn't it, of what you're trying to do. So I think that's important, but also please try to be really conscious and aware that you have done something for yourself and that was nice and I enjoyed it or I benefited from it. So you can go to bed that night knowing that you've invested at least 10 minutes into something for yourself.
Yeah. Prioritising. That's another
that's
thing
another
too.
trick. Yes.
I try to, if I don't do it overnight, write my to-do list for the next day, then I will do it first thing in the morning.
Uh-huh.
And I then highlight the 3 to 4 things that absolutely have to happen.
Okay.
And then the other, say there's like 12 things on the list, at least those ones are done. And they're usually the biggest ones too.
Yes.
Because I think that's another thing too, when faced with so much to do, where often we'll do like smaller tasks that aren't, rather than attack the big one. So if you can get the big ones done and out of the way, then you're also not thinking about that as well. I think it's just sort of freeing up that headspace where it's constantly, has this happened? Did this get paid? Round and round it goes. And I don't think people, maybe they do realise how taxing it is on a lot of people if it's not an automatic thing. I think that's the other thing,
and it's not easy, and I think we spoke about this last week, but if you can, just don't rush, because do you know what? You're going to get through it. Just almost, it sounds a bit ridiculous, but like float to the next thing. But instead of that tension that's in you, like, right, next,
yes.
Stress is so unhelpful for yourself, particularly when we're trying to then do all this other stuff. Don't see it as this massive chore. Try to see it as like, oh, I've done that, right, I'm just going to float to the next thing, because I just find that if you can grasp that, if you can just kind of move through your day, or flow through your day, but not, I don't mean,
no, I'm joking.
Exactly, at a snail's pace, but just instead of feeling like you are hurtling at,
like just
ready to strangle someone.
Right, every muscle in your body is tensed up.
Do you know, I had a bit of a thing yesterday. Twice yesterday I had road rage happen to me. Both of them were men. Both of them swore at me, wound down their window,
at you.
At me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at me.
I thought you were the one doing it.
No. And both of them were validated by someone else going, that was not your fault. In fact, on the first one, another guy came up to me and said, are you okay?
Oh, really?
He literally drove straight in front of you and just sort of he said, I'm going to go and have a word with him now. So I was a bit like, God, but I was just frustrated because like, how dare you? Anyway, but then I reflected and thought, those people must be so highly strung in their lives, and actually probably not very pleasant people, or maybe they are.
Or they're just bad-tempered.
Exactly. But I just thought, my God, just calm down.
Right,
was it really necessary to wind down your window, start shouting and swearing when genuinely they had done something wrong themselves, which is probably why they were doing it, because they're trying to defend their own actions and all that sort of stuff. But you just think, if you can just try to float a bit more, just calm down, don't be so highly strung. There is something to be said about that. You'll get through your list, you really will. You'll still get through it. You'll just get through it with far less tension.
I feel like I'm always running through the day with my hair on fire, pretty much. Not every day, especially if I have appointments. That's a thing for me, because I hate being late. Right. So I get into a place and I with seconds to spare. And so just leaving enough time for me, that's a big thing. If I'm early, so be it. Because I think that adds a whole nother level of,
it does, you're right,
stress too.
Time is a big thing. If you can allow yourself a bit more time than you think it's going to take, it just makes it so less stressful.
Right.
Because when you're working against the clock all the time, I can guarantee you something will pop up to then make you late. That's not actually your fault, because something else has come along that's then taken the time that you allocated 20 minutes because it takes 20 minutes. I can guarantee there'll be a phone call, a knock at the door.
Something will happen. The dog has to go out before I leave.
The dog's got to out. You open the fridge and a bottle will fall out and smash. You're like, I haven't got time to clear this up because I've got 20 minutes. So you're right. If you can add a bit more time allocation to the task than you think it's really going to take, that will take away a lot of the stress, because you can float a little bit more through the task, not feel like you're ready to sort of strangle or kill someone the entire time. So that's a good idea. That's a good tip, actually.
I feel like that someone would light me on fire and then push me down one of those. Was that the luge? What's that thing? On the Winter Olympics where they go down on the toboggan, and then just pushes me down that. That's how I find
Go, 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 go,
just
go,
like
go. Yeah.
constant where, I don't know. Yeah. Just, and
Actually, it doesn't have to be like that.
no,
It doesn't.
And really, for me, because I don't have kids, that's just the stress I'm putting on myself, I think.
Yeah. But I think you need to be fair to yourself. Yes, I know a family and children add an extra requirement. There's no denying that.
Right.
Obviously, they need a lot of care. But I don't think you should belittle the fact that you've also then got the amount of stress that's in your life that's your story, that's yours. You don't have to then say, oh, well, it's not as bad as someone else. Don't do the comparison thing like we've talked about in other episodes.
Right.
Your story and your reality of what you're living, your own truth, is exactly that. So it's fine. Your mental load, your tick list is exactly your list, and the feeling will be just the same for you as it will be for someone else, even though their tick list might look a slightly different length or different job. So I think that's important to recognize, is that it's okay to still feel, it's not okay to feel stressed, but it's okay. Don't compare yourself.
Right.
It's okay to think that you're busy and you shouldn't be. Well, you are. So that's that.
Do you think that people, shoot, what was I going to say? As you were saying that, I thought, that they not expect too much of themselves. Oh, time management. That's what I was going to say. Do you think that some people are, well, I know some people are time management poor, and I think I'm one for this as well, that I will, suddenly, because I'm really bad at focusing, and so I go off.
What you feel like is wasted time.
I'm like, oh, good grief, that I was doing that for an hour and a half. That's ridiculous. Whereas when I get focused, oh gosh, I'm like on, like I'm just going. I get
that's
stuff
where that
done.
time blocking thing works so well, doesn't it?
Yes.
And I know we've spoken about it many times, but it really does work well. And I think that perhaps if you've got some bigger things on your list for the day, that's worth doing as well, is time blocking on that. And then so you don't get so distracted, because otherwise you're just going to nip up and get another load of washing and put that on, or hang it out, or you just eat into
the time,
the task. Yeah, exactly. So I think it really works well.
I love that. If people are listening that haven't heard Sarah and I talk about this before, it's where you set a timer, literally, which might be a bit stressful, but for some people, I don't know, I love it. For 50 minutes, that's 50, not 15, as sometimes my Alexa thinks.
Sounds right.
And so you do that in 50-minute blocks, and then the 10 minutes you can do stuff. If you're working from home, you can hang clothes on the line, whatever, do something, make yourself a sandwich. And it works really well because you want to beat that timer. And so I don't look at my phone. I just focus on whatever it is that task is that I want to get done.
Yeah, I don't have for me, I don't really have that whole I need to beat the timer thing.
Oh, I like that.
Do you?
Yeah.
I do that on my sat nav, don't you? It says I'm going to get there at whatever, like 9:50. I'm like, hell, I'm not. I'm going to get there at 9:45.
I believe that.
That's my driving. But what I do find is I really force myself to not get distracted. So I'm like, nope, while that timer is on, you do not look at your phone.
No.
You do not go and off, and do the washing machine or whatever. So that's how it works for me, is I use it as a control mechanism. So it's not so much the rush to get it done in that time, because I might have to then have a break and set another one,
and that often happens, but still,
but I think that's, for me, it's a control mechanism. So that's how I use it.
But it works. It's very effective.
It does do work.
I think so. It reminds me of when I was little. My mum used to say, I'll race you in the shower, so because to the bathroom, so she'd have one and then I'd have one, and see who won, because I think that was so I didn't so I didn't dilly-dally. I think that's so good.
It's an age-old thing when kids are not wanting to put their clothes on or get dressed in the morning. You're like, oh, for the love of God. Right, you're like, okay, let's see who can do it in 30 seconds. Go, like that. They're like, I can. You're like, and then eventually they clock onto it and go, yeah, stuff you, I'm not doing that.
Right,
God, got to think of something new. But yeah, I mean, it does. It's the mentality of wanting to get something done in that period of time really helps.
Blocks of time, I think that makes a big difference, whether it's paying bills, writing a to-do list, getting a project done, doing some prep work for food, getting what are you going to have, the meal planning, whatever it is that you need to do, just doing that helps a lot.
It does. And this is another tip, I think, is all of those things is try to flip it, because they are on your mental load list and they can drag you down and you can feel overwhelmed and exhausted. If you flip it and go, oh, exciting, I'm going to plan what I'm going to eat next week. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get my meal planner out and I'm going to plan some really nice meals perhaps I've not tried before, or are family favourites. And also, if you have got a family, you know that Tuesday night is swimming, Wednesday night is football, Thursday night is, and so then you can plan your food around it, because some of the nights you've got a quick turnaround, so there's no point you choosing a meal that's going to take me an hour and a half to prepare. Not that anyone potentially would do that during the week, but you've got it helps you use your time effectively, because you know what's happening on each of those days, but get excited by it. Use it as an opportunity to think, I'm going to enjoy this.
I get to do it. I don't have to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing I was going to say is I do catch myself genuinely sometimes when I find this, and for me, I know I've mentioned the dishwasher, but oh my God, I just find it such a drag, loading it, unloading it. And I do it sometimes 2 times a day.
Gosh, that's crazy.
I know.
I don't even do that, and I'm testing recipes. And
I don't know how we get through it all, but anyway. But the other thing that I then think about when I'm doing, but you know what? Genuinely, how damn lucky am I that I've even got a bloody dishwasher?
Right. I know, you need to stop for a moment.
You do need, and the same with the washing machine, and you just have to have that gratitude check, I think. Mm-hmm. Okay, they are to-do lists, they weigh you down, but we are really fortunate, the fact that we've even got these appliances,
right?
And we're even in this situation.
Or you get to plan for a holiday or vacation, rather than thinking, I have to do all of this.
Yeah,
it's like
your food
you
prep.
Can do it. Oh, I know.
We've got opportunity to think about what we want to eat for the week, that we're going to be able to afford to buy it.
Right.
Nutritionally, we're now trying to choose the better things for us, which is not always the most low cost items. We have talked about ways of doing that. Check that out of the Cheap Eats episode if you want some ideas on that, but it's not always the cheapest way of doing it. So we are really fortunate that we're even in this position to, whatever that looks like for ourselves, that probably looks different to me than it does to you, to someone else, but within your own realm we are able to do that.
Right.
The other thing, which does sound a little bit cheesy, but honestly, having lived through it, it is true. You never actually understand or realise at that time that that's potentially the last time you're going to do that. So by that I mean, when you're bathing your little ones, if you've got a family, and you're like, oh God, bath time, and it can be a nightmare because you can't get them in the bath and then you can't get them out of the bath and you're literally tearing your hair out. But there'll come a time when they do not want you to be bathing them anymore.
Which is good.
Believe me, yeah. Which is good once they are 18 and in there for hours. But you just think, there's something to be said for actually just trying to take a step back and almost stepping out of the situation and looking, going, do you know what? I won't get to do this forever, because they'll be grown up and they'll be gone in the living, which is great, because that's also what your job is. You're trying to equip them for future life, aren't you? But sometimes try to remind yourself, as much as it's a hard work and it's a chore, just go, but you know what? There will be a time when I'll miss doing this. There'll be a time when I'll miss, and I'm just on the brink of my son, but he's not flying the nest yet, but I've got it. I can feel it hanging over me, genuinely. I'm a bit lost in some situations, like my purpose is going to have to change massively. And so I try to remind myself that sometimes when I'm literally picking all of his stuff up and getting his food ready, and like I'm not your PA, which does feel like that. But you just think, if you can flip your attitude towards it, I think that does help. If you can put a bit of gratitude into
look at it more on a positive note.
Yeah, I think so.
Because how you go into anything is key. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's something as simple as unpacking the dishwasher, making a meal, or a work project, whatever.
Yeah. How
you approach it and thankful for it, like you were saying, is key. Also, when people everything doesn't have to always get done. I'm one for that.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Wait, tomorrow's fine.
Yes, just add it to tomorrow's list.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be stuff to do. That's another
It adds
thing.
on the bottom, exactly, yeah.
Just, so you're never going to get through the list, but at least, like I was saying, if you choose some big ones, like if the bills have to get paid, if the kids have to get to sport or whatever, pick some, those big ones. As long as they get done, the small things don't matter as much. Yeah, they might still matter, but, if they don't get done, so be it.
Just roll it over.
Just roll it over. Or if you really feel like you want to get through that list, then maybe staying up an hour later and just having that quiet time to yourself. Maybe that's the way to do it. Or getting up earlier. Even getting up half an hour earlier for me sets my day on a good trajectory, rather than messaging Sarah a week ago saying, oh my God, my alarm didn't go off. I've overslept. And I'm going to be late this is for when we do the podcast. And that can just throw your whole day off.
Well, you rush the whole day, don't you?
You feel like that the whole day. And that you've not quite woken up properly or whatever. But I find just even half an hour earlier makes a really big difference. And it's nice to sleep in. But the feeling of getting stuff done, that's even a better feeling.
And I think you're right, though. That give yourself a break as well, isn't it? If you haven't got it done today, did it really
Don't
matter?
beat yourself up for it.
One of my favourite sayings is, did the world stop turning?
That's what I was about to say. The world didn't come to an end.
So tomorrow's fine. But thinking about when we were talking about the fact that some people ask you what to do and then it's like project managing them to then get it done. I think a way around that is to genuinely allocate tasks that belong to someone else in the family. You do not have to do it all. And I am the world's worst at preaching this. So I'm going to hold my hands up. I'm preaching this now. And I've never managed to actually do it. I literally try to do everything. I do get given, support and a hand, but I am the ones of like, no, I'll do it.
Do you think that's a control thing, or do you think that just comes from wanting to make sure it's done?
That and being, particularly when my son was a lot younger and then running my own business, it was time. So for me, I was my days were so full. If I just went and did it, it was done. And I didn't have to worry about the fact that it wasn't. I didn't have to then worry, rush, and it's just done. It's like that old adage, isn't it? If you want something done, ask a busy person, because they just go and get it done now, and then they can go back to what they were doing. So part of it was that, whereas I should have or could have just left it to like my son to get it done. Like, you can do that. Just get it done yourself, but I didn't, and I've over delivered basically, and sort of created.
And you can't change it now. Yeah,
I've made a rod for my own back. But do you know what I can? And the other day, in fact, we had this conversation, and he just said, I genuinely don't actually know what there is to be done. I'm like, okay, fair enough. He said, just tell me and I will do it. So I think what I then realised is I need to start to allocate some things that are literally going to be off my list.
Yeah, they're his jobs, so to speak.
Have to have trust, so I don't project manage. So maybe, the fact that all the recycling has to go. We always seem to have so much recycling inside the house to go out every day. Packaging and all that sort of stuff. So maybe if he sees the basket's full, you take it out. Because I'm in and out.
Will he see it's full? I'm not disparaging him, but I'm just.
No, he probably wouldn't.
No,
I'm going to have to try and make
choose days, certain days.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think if you allocate things to people rather than ad hoc asking them to do them, do you see what I mean? I think that's the difference.
Oh, that makes a difference.
Because you're not project managing, asking them to do it, and then having to check, allocate it, and then say, I take that as read that will be done.
Yeah,
and whether it's gathering all of the towels up and putting them in the washing machine once a week.
Right.
You know what? You can easily do that. So that's your job every whatever, Monday, Friday, whatever suits you. You go around, you pick up all the towels, you put them in the washing machine and put it on and put fresh towels out for everybody. That will take you no more than 5 minutes. But do you know what it is? It's off my to-do list.
And then then the next day, and then you go to have a shower and you're like,
where's my bloody towel? But
right.
You have to have faith, because otherwise why would they? Because if you're always checking, if you're always doing it for them because it took too long, it's really insulting to them, actually, to be fair, isn't it? Like, well, hang on a minute, you asked me to do it, let me do it.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to try and get this agreement between you. So I think allocation rather than asking that's a tip as well. And little things, if your kids are small, bigger things, if it's your husband, partner, wife, whatever.
And some families put them up on the fridge or a board or something where they have certain days and then colour code names and, all of that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something to think about. And then what happens is I think slowly you'll find your cup is not so empty.
Right.
Because that 5 or 10 minutes that you would have been perhaps doing the towel run, you could use that for yourself, like we talked about earlier, and make sure you recognise that you have done it for yourself. And that's how you start to fill your cup, because if you try to keep going on empty, you will eventually break. You just will. You have to put something back in, and it doesn't make for a happy person, does it?
No.
And actually, everybody wants to be I would want to be a person that someone finds happy to be around. I don't want to be bloody miserable.
No.
But sometimes I know I can seem like I'm bloody miserable or grumpy or...
that's because, when you're trying to get stuff done, that's how I could get... Because I'm just, okay, this has to happen, that has to happen, and you're not going to... You don't have to deliver it in a way that's all sunshine and roses. I mean, you don't have to be a bitch about it, but still, I think sometimes my delivery is more like, this just has to get done.
Yeah, and it's when I get stressed, and because I'm sort of time poor, like you said, I've not got time rich. I'm on the side. I'm like, I've got to get it done, and then I get really snappy. And I think that's not how actually I want to be. I want to be a happy person and nice to be around. And to do that, I'm going to have to put something, refill my cup a little bit so that I know that I've got something to give again and to enjoy.
So saying that, what then fills your cup?
Good question. I think I get a bit lost.
Because people need to ask themselves that question.
Know completely. I think that's something that, because you are always so busy, I don't actually have given it a huge... I mean, I do things. I'm actually on an app learning a language at the moment, and I'm enjoying that. So I spend probably about 20 minutes a day learning that. I do plenty. But if someone said, actually, what do I do that I really enjoy every day? I'm like, don't know.
Well, or that you feel satisfied. You feel like you have got... that the levels don't have to come right up to the very top, but at least, maybe half fill.
I think I always, and I haven't done it now for ages, but I enjoy journaling. I really enjoy it.
Right, yeah.
And I haven't done it for so long, so actually that would be something that I would enjoy doing. But it feels weird. It feels weird sitting down for 15 minutes journaling when you feel like you've got this long list of other things to do. Because I'm a bit like, I should, and then I can't. That's the thing that I find really hard, is switching off. So even if I am then sitting down to watch television in the evening, I find it so hard to actually stop thinking about all the other things that need doing.
Right.
So that's something I need to get better at, is just to let it go. Like you said, let it roll on. It'll be fine. That's what. But
journaling every day, I think, is that's a really good thing. I think,
and I really enjoyed it.
And for people, I mean, some people just think, because for me, I think, I don't have time to do that. But I think mentally, it's a good way of just, like that morning pages. I don't know if anybody out there has heard of that. And that is just spending, like, could be 10, could be 20 minutes each morning, first thing, writing 3 pages. And that sounds like a lot, but, not a big book. Just write. You don't even have to think about it. Just let it come out of you. So for me, that could be something like getting the garden, what I want to plant in the garden, when spring rolls around. Or it could be anything. Or just, like I said, I've been feeling flat. It could be about that. And then that's done. But I felt for me, it cleared my head. And I think that's a really good way to start the day.
I found old journals of mine from years ago.
Oh, really?
When I was feeling pretty low and pretty sad, and I'd written every night. And you read back over them, some of you sort of cringe and think, oh dear God, get a grip, woman. But also some of it, you just think, God, that's actually... I found it really reassuring, because I, particularly about sort of two years ago, a bit more, maybe 3 years ago, I had a really turning point for me in the way that I changed my attitude and beliefs about myself. And I did write it down, and I only found it the day during a massive clear out that I was talking about, sort of clearing out some stuff in my room. Has a little read through. I thought, I'm well done me, I'm bloody doing it. So all of the things I could see that was for me, that was a line in the sand. It was really clear. I didn't know it at the time, but where I'd written it all down, and I have genuinely changed my sort of attitude, behaviours, thoughts, everything since that moment, and not just because of that moment of me writing it down, but they're really quite interesting to look back on, to see whether you have achieved the things that you've been writing in there. And actually you can learn from, you can remind yourself, can't you, some of the stuff you've written down, think, yep, that was a good point, I need to make sure I do that. So I think journaling, I enjoy drawing in mine as well. Sometimes
I know yours look really pretty.
I just doodle and draw, and I'm like, oh, that's part of my enjoyment, is the actual prep of it all, because it looks so tidy and pretty. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
so,
mine doesn't. Mine's just like thoughts that just
down.
Just
it's
down.
Whatever it needs to be.
Yeah,
for
yeah. Well, and that's a really good segue into, because listening to you, talk about it as we talk about that our goals for the coming week. I think that mine is going to be doing the morning pages again.
Okay.
So just 3 pages. They're not big. It's just in a composition book, they're called here.
Yeah.
About that size. And just, doing that every morning.
Okay.
Yeah, early. Just
I didn't have that on my
priority.
list, but I am going to put it on my list.
Okay. What goals do you have?
So
then?
for the goals for me, so I'm going to put journaling down.
I'm writing mine down, so 1, I remember
Well
to do
done.
it, and 2, I know for next week. Yeah.
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 I'm going to draw up a list of some of the tasks that I can allocate to someone else in the
Oh,
home.
okay.
So it's going to be unrealistic for me to think that they're all going to get shared.
Right.
But, some realistic ones that I'm going to allocate to someone else in the home.
You can always add to them, like start small and then
It's
add.
fine. So that's another one. And the third thing now, I did have 2, so this is my number thing. I'm going to get better, and I have been better, but not perfect, at saying no.
Okay.
So what happens is I'm in the middle of doing something, and a phone call from a friend or my son will come in and go, oh, I just need you to do this. And do you know what I do? I drop what I'm doing every single time. Or if my phone rings, I instantly pick it up to answer it. And I feel panicked about responding to that request of my time.
Right.
And actually, what I need to get better is I will, but I'll look at that later. Because actually, you're entitled to run your own life. And an emergency,
and not feel like you're being selfish.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that whole putting on your mask before somebody else's.
Exactly.
So important.
So learning to say no, but with grace. You're not being a bitch about it.
Right.
And actually, they'll just. But the trouble is, I've set this little precedent that I instantly go
do
fix.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're my 3 things now. So I'm going to journal. I'm going to draw up a list of some of the tasks that I can allocate to someone else, and I'm going to get better at saying no, or no for a period of time, not a flat no, probably. But
my mum, when she would say no to me for something they wanted to do, she would just say flat out no, and I'd ask her why, and she would say to me, I don't have to tell you why, because the why then would become an argument.
Yeah.
So when you do say no, you don't have to explain to somebody why you're saying no. You're just like, sorry,
or
no.
another trick.
It's just not a good time for me right now.
A good way of delivering it is yes,
but not now.
I'll look at that in half an hour.
Yeah.
And so it's not a no, because I think people don't react well to no.
Right.
Often. But if you go, yes, I will, in half an hour, or this afternoon or tomorrow or whatever it is that you need to do. So I think that's a trick of doing it.
And you can say no too.
You can say no.
Yeah,
just not
you
very
can
good
do
at
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about eats? What's cooking in Sarah's kitchen this week?
This week I have cooked lots of 1-pan sort of vegetable dishes.
Oh, nice.
So chopped up sort of, what do we do? Sweet potato and courgette, lots of garlic. I've been having lots of garlic.
Good.
I love it at the
Very
moment.
good for you.
So lots of 1-pan dishes, getting them all in, and then just stirring lemon through, or maybe a bit of pesto or something. Really enjoying that. I've also been enjoying chicken and ham salad sandwiches on sourdough bread for my lunch. Oh, they've been so good.
Chicken and ham? Like deli chicken or home cooked chicken?
No, roast chicken. Yeah, sort of slices of roast chicken.
Okay.
And then I just had 2 slices of sourdough bread, as you'd imagine. I've put avocado in there. So they've been really packed with
I
nutrient.
love a sandwich for lunch.
So there's been avocado, baby spinach. I've put some vine tomatoes in there. I've put a little bit of sandwich pickle because I love that. Just to give it a little bit
condiments.
of zest.
I love condiments.
Yeah.
Hot mustard.
I always put butter on my bread,
Oh,
people.
gosh.
I mean,
come on, you have to.
Yeah. Not like thick, but there's got to be some. I always do.
Here in America, they just don't.
You told me that before. Which
do
is
it.
I find that odd.
So stuff doesn't stick for one, and also, I mean, the butter's there. It protects the bread from getting soggy.
Yeah,
if you've
and
got tomatoes,
so different.
It's so different. Yeah, I know.
So
butter.
So I butter my
definitely.
bread. Sourdough. Rye sourdough bread.
Oh,
Like really
nice.
dark stuff. Yeah.
Nice.
So I've been enjoying, and they have kept me full all afternoon.
Oh, that makes such a difference to me. If I have a sandwich for lunch, I am good till dinner. If I just take what I put on that sandwich and have that without the bread, I'm hungry 40 minutes later.
But the other thing that happens if I try to go too skinny on the sandwich, sort of put like, I'll just put a bit of something, which is why I didn't. I put the sliced chicken. I don't mean stacks of chicken.
Right.
Just a slice of chicken, a slice of wafer thin ham, the really thin stuff. Then all of this salad and the avocado makes it really gorgeously sort of juicy. Oh my gosh. So I've been having those for my lunches, and so that's the two things I have been cooking. And next week I'd like to have some prawns. I realised I've not had prawns for blooming ages.
They're so good because they're so quick to cook.
Yep.
They're just, perfect. I've got quite a few in the freezer because here, mostly we just buy them frozen.
Yeah.
Just because we live in the centre of the country, so.
Yes.
But, yeah. The prawns, I'm going to add those to my what I'm going to make this week list.
Okay. So what have you been eating this week?
Oh, last night I made a salad that was arugula, rocket, with sliced up peaches, the burrata cheese, which is, like soft mozza that's got the milk cream in it, and prosciutto.
Nice.
And then I batch made pesto the other day and put it into little containers. So I had taken one of those from the freezer and just got a little bit of that and sort of globbed it over a touch. Yep. And then a smidge of olive oil, salt, pepper, and then a bit of balsamic glaze that I have. Oh, it was so good. I thought I could just eat that every day. The peaches with that peppery arugula together was so nice. Yeah,
I do that sometimes. I really love this. I have that I have wild rocket and watercress salad quite a lot.
I love watercress. Yeah. It's really hard to find here.
Is it?
Yeah, another thing that I have been eating is because we have so many beans, like green beans and yellow beans. Yep. So I've been making, I made a whole lot of tomato sauce and batch cooked that. So I have that in the freezer. That with green beans. I mean, it's just almost a meal. And then with a garlicky breadcrumb on it. Delicious. And then sandwiches, like you were saying. Sandwiches. Always love those for lunch. So they're on my list. And I want to make a snack type thing, like chewy date bars or something that's really sort of high in fibre. Something that I can make, maybe put in the freezer, because I find when something's in the freezer, like sweet like that I'm not, constantly at it. Because it's after lunch that I just crave something sweet. So I'm going to do that. And look, brace yourself for the next one, Sarah. Cottage cheese bagels. You just make them in the air fryer. I've seen people do this on Instagram. I'm going to give it a go and see. Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you do that.
Okay.
For two reasons: the cottage cheese, and number two, I still don't have an air fryer, so it's fine.
Right. I'm sure they could be done in the oven, but I just the lady that I watched make them, she did them in the air fryer, and they were just like done in a few. So I'm definitely going to try those.
I'm happy for you to try that.
You don't even have to do yeast; it's just baking powder in it.
Really?
So yeah. So they just look so easy. So anyway, I'm doing that today. Oh, another thing that I'm going to make a whole batch of is, because we've got so many jalapenos, I'm going to make a jalapeno jam, because I love, like, jams and chutneys. I love those things, especially on a sandwich. Yeah. I know that the English love their condiments too, as do the Aussies. Here, it's really just about mayonnaise. And,
Really?
I mean, yeah, I'm not a huge mayonnaise fan. Plus, you put a bit of mayonnaise on something, it's like another 150 calories or whatever. But anyway, so I do this, when I do jalapeno jam, I put that monk fruit sugar in there, just so it's not so, calorific. And then, no carbs. So I'm going to make some of that today, actually, as well, because the garden's just given forth everything. Have you ever had, like the little sugar snap peas, those?
Yeah,
Have you ever taken those and scorched them in a pan? So they've got like a little blood. I'm going to do that with some salmon. I think that's going to be dinner tonight.
What? So the pea left inside and you just do the outside?
Yeah, because the little sugar snap peas, you eat the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you just toss them in a little bit of olive oil and then put them into a frying pan, like a dry pan, no water, and you scorch them so they cook. So it's almost like stir frying, but you let them get a little black on them a bit. So I thought that maybe I might do that tonight with some with some salmon, just tossed in something spicy and sweet a bit, maybe.
That's nice. When I bake the salmon, I just put it in a little tinfoil parcel.
So it steams a bit.
That's how I do it. I just put the salmon fillet in it, and maybe sprinkle a little bit of chili or paprika or something, literally a tiny bit, and fold up into a little parcel, put it in 12 minutes, and then that's it.
Right.
That's what I do to my salmon. It's delicious.
Have you ever done it where you slice up some limes and put the salmon on that?
Oh, okay.
And then you can then drizzle it with some soy sauce, maybe a bit of honey, some crushed red pepper or something, and if you've got some coriander, some cilantro lying about, you can chuck that into, make it a bit, or a bit like Thai. A piece of ginger even. Yeah, a bit sort of Thai, a bit Asian. Okay. Yeah, that's nice too. I'm doing my salmon tonight in the air fryer. So good in the air fryer. Really is. Oh my God. I need to sell them. I need to just
You do.
I just need to give up. I just need to get sponsored by. I need to find somebody.
What sort of air fryer do you have? Do you have a Ninja?
A Ninja. Mine's a Ninja, and it has 2 separate drawers, which might not be great for a big family, but for just the 2 of us, it's so perfect.
Yeah.
Because, I do, the other night I did cook some chicken in it, and chicken breast is so good in it because it doesn't dry out. Well, at least the way I did it. I'd marinated some chicken, threw it in there, and then the other side I did some bacon, and then just made a salad up. So for the next day, for that night and for the next day. Yeah. I don't know, they're good, especially in summer. But and I'm always harping on about
coming your way.
I'm always harping on about it anyway. So next week we're talking about consistency, which is a big thing for me. I'm consistently inconsistent. That's something I'm really trying to work on. So to achieve weight loss goals, you need to be consistent and not consistently inconsistent, like I was saying. Build some structure into your day for you to exercise and meal prep. We're going to talk about that and so much more, so please join us for that. As always, thank you so much for listening. Please send us a message if there's something you'd like to hear us chat about. Visit lovoniandsarah.com to subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss an episode. You'll also find links to connect with us on social media. And just remember to fill up your own cup. There is nothing selfish about tending to your own needs and setting aside some time for yourself. Because, we all need that, right? Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.